Thank y'all so much for joining for another week of Reflect and Grow, where we reflect, we grow, and laugh. I am your host, Vaughn Michael, and I am super excited about being on here this week with y'all, man. We talking about childhood trauma. And it's gonna we got a lot to talk about, man, because it's just so much going on with childhood trauma that I feel like people we just um don't know about. Like me personally, myself, something I experienced with that I didn't know was a thing, and I'm starting to grow and understand it more. But before we get and deep to that, I just want to say, man, this past week, I had a virtual comedy show, the Von Michael Rent Comedy Party. We do once a month, which was so dope. We do that every last Friday of the month. Man, we had people in there laughing all over the world, and um it was just so dope, man. So we'll do that again next last Friday of the month. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I'll post about it. You can always get a ticket for that and everything. So I'm super excited about that. But this week we will be talking about childhood trauma, man. Like childhood trauma is one of the things that I didn't know how serious it was. It's like, you know, people I heard people talking about it, but I didn't realize, like, until you become like more self-aware, you be like, dang, like this is why I'm reacting this way, because I never healed some of that trauma. So we're gonna have a conversation about that tonight, which I'm super excited about. Today, joining us, I have you've seen her here before. She's been here. I think this is her third time. I feel like she's, regular. She's licensed. I want to throw that out there. We're not doing no fake. Like I wasn't talking about you, confession. Oh, okay, all right. And I didn't mean that to shade either. Um, so we have licensed therapist Brenda Joy here. Brenda, can you hear me? If somebody got me on
I
twice, because
can
I
hear
got,
you with my phone, but not on my iPad for some reason.
I think you have to you have to mute one of them. Hold on, let's get this.
Okay, hold on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me now? Hold on. We're about to do sign language. So let's Brenda.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, only on my phone. Let me switch real
You might have to
quick.
put in headphones.
On my phone. Let me switch real quick.
While she gets that figured out, I got my girl here, Confessions from a Red Couch. How you doing tonight? What's up, Sally brother?
Hi, I'm great, doing good.
Where your manager at?
Oh, he right here. Hold on, let me see. There he is. Never too
Okay.
far away, because the manager had to manage.
I got you. Well, I appreciate you joining. I feel like, man, we got a dope conversation tonight about childhood trauma, man. Like I know you've been in therapy. You've been healing that childhood trauma yourself.
Yeah, it's necessary. Man, when it starts affecting other things in life, you gotta work it out. And sometimes people just to add in, I like to say this because I'm a product of a teenage pregnancy. Not knocking it, but and she did the best. They did the best they could with what they had. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Mhm.
a lot of childhood trauma isn't on purpose because as parents, you kind of learning as you go. You don't really know what you're doing until you start doing it, and so I think part of my healing was forgiving them for things that they just didn't know. So
Mm.
that was part of my healing as well.
I like that. You gotta forgive for that
hmm
healing. Okay. And what did that look like? And how long was that process for you?
So it's still ongoing,
Mhm.
and it's funny now because I'm big grown. I'm big grown, big age, big grown. And there's a lot of things that I do now, like when I'm talking to my parents, because I've grown up with them. That's the way I feel like I've grown up with them. So a lot of the stories we talk about, like I'm like, dang. And let me tell y'all how it affected me. And my mom was like, I had no clue, and I'm sorry. And it's like, it's all good. It's just people do the best they can. that's
Yes, they
it.
can.
So yeah.
And I think we have Brenda. Brenda, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Today, give me 1 second. We can just go. I'm gonna go
Oh,
to
you're
Brenda.
good. I'm muting myself. Y'all got it.
All right, cool. All right, Brenda, thank you so much for joining. Anybody that's watching, Brenda, who you see that says Teddy Roosevelt SDIT, Brenda is a licensed therapist. She really licensed. She for real. Like, this ain't no play. Like, she could prove it. So she is joining us today. But she also does some life coaching if you want some life coaching as well. But she's joined us today. I think this is an important conversation to have. Childhood trauma. I think I messaged you about it, and I think it's something that we could definitely bring more awareness to it. Anybody that's watching this, I do want to let you know, this is not a therapy session. This is just a conversation that we're having about childhood trauma. So Brenda, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little tired. I just did we just filmed like 7 sketches a day. So, but we gonna.
I love the sketches, but I love Gwen and you. So
yeah, tomorrow I got one with Gwen coming out.
All right.
But so my question for you today, what is childhood trauma?
Well, there's not a small answer to that, but it's anything that really altered your worldview and had a negative impact as a child early on. It could be parenting neglect, it could be school bullying, natural disaster, social slights, even because at certain stages of childhood, not having friends could be considered life or death. I mean, a lot, because there's big T traumas and there's little T traumas, and those little T traumas add up. And ironically, a lot of those traumas happen before we really have memories of it, and we're reacting from it every day.
Oh wow! So what's big T and what's little T? Can you give like an example?
Oh, sure. A big T trauma could be like witnessing death or sexual abuse or neglect, something like that. The little T traumas is maybe somebody said something offhand to you that you took in a different way, like, oh God, they talk too much. You need to shut up. And then maybe they carry with them, oh, I better not talk to people anymore. But we don't actively remember all these things, but yet they affect our worldview every day until we go back through them or we find a way to learn different coping skills. Like you said earlier, a lot of people have had traumas on some level. They just don't realize because maybe it was their normal because everybody else grew up that way.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was the second question I had for you. So yeah, I think you kind of hit on it. I was like, my second question was, does trauma always come from major events or does it come from everyday experiences?
I don't know about everyday experiences, but there are things in your daily life, especially as a child, that would be the little T traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And we take today's knowledge and we plug it into yesterday, and that doesn't help us either because we didn't have that worldview back then. That was our first time we were told no, or the first time we saw our parents as a human being, or the first time we saw an animal get hurt. Those are big impacts at that time.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So trauma is when you can't, and this was someone that's new to therapy, new to mental health, that just trying to get an understanding.
Yes.
When you have a memory and you constantly thinking about it, and it keeps like you can't get into that loop. Is that what trauma is?
It very well could be, especially if it's something that has negatively impacted you and you're kind of living your life around that memory because your goal is never to be in that position again.
Mm. Okay. So what are some common signs childhood trauma is affecting someone as an adult?
Inability to trust,
Mm.
can be explosive with anger. They don't know how to emotionally regulate themselves. They have a hard time with relationships and friendships because of the lack of trust, and maybe they isolate themselves on the, if it was a bigger trauma, they might isolate themselves and not really participate because they want to stay safe.
That's a way for them to protect themselves.
Yeah, and the fear of what if it happens again.
So when someone like say they isolate, a childhood trauma, is that what they're thinking? That are they like thinking like, man, I just need to protect myself? Like, do you know like usually what you have seen with people like, what does that look like? The thought process.
Well, I would say, in the 20 plus years I've been a therapist, 'cause these are my opinions and it's based off actual book learning and actual experience. So some people may agree or not agree with me, but a lot of times you don't even realize you're doing it because you haven't even processed the trauma or you don't even know you're living with one. And I've had people come to me in their 50s and 60s just realizing, oh my gosh, this happened to me when I was a child. And their whole life has been a series of train wrecks because what you don't fix repeats. It may repeat with other friends or other circumstances, but you're always going to relive that trauma just with different people in different places, so to speak. So when unfortunately a lot of people go to therapy whenever they're at their wits ends or they've lost friends and family and they're finally cluing in, oh, maybe I do have a problem. And I think that is so sad because if they would have started in their 20s or late teens even and just started doing therapy back then, they could have had all those years to just enjoy things.
So what's the difference between? Because I think we hit on this before when you in the past you talked about people waiting to get therapy till they're in survival mode. Like, what's the difference between entering therapy when you already things have like got to a level where it's super extreme versus like you said, starting maybe in your 20s or your teens?
I think when someone starts younger, maybe they're just more aware because they've had a different experience with life. And our younger generations, they really are about being aware and in touch with their feelings. So I think that's a good thing where a person in survival mode just didn't understand what happened to them and they didn't take the time to stop and unpack it. Or maybe they didn't have the resources even. Therapy, there's a huge shortage of mental health therapy. And when you can find it, can you afford it? Will your insurance cover it? Do you feel comfortable with that therapist? Because you're not going to click with every therapist either.
Yeah, yeah. That's something that I wasn't aware of myself. That you had to find a therapist that actually click, and because it takes time. Am I correct? Like it takes time for you to actually like build that rapport, that trust, to even go deeper into that therapy session.
Definitely. I mean, you're talking to somebody about the deepest, darkest things that you probably have never even thought of in years, or that things you thought you had to hide from your friends and family, which isn't exactly accurate. It's just your brain and your subconscious is telling you, oh, you don't want to be different. Don't you dare talk about these things, kind of holds us hostage.
Yeah, yeah. Which is an amazing process. That have you seen people who came in guarded like that, and then once they left, they were like night and day, like 180 from how they would express themselves.
Definitely. I find it a privilege to be on the journey with somebody that, like, I've had people like emotionally shut down and didn't think that they were going to ever get better or however you want to put it. And I use humor when I do therapy, and it's sometimes it just takes a couple of good chuckles to get them to kind of relax and open up. And because each therapist, we may do things differently, but at the end of the day, we all just want to promote self growth and help you find better ways to look at the world.
Yeah, I'm glad you use humor. It's hard. It's hard for me personally because I'm already a comedian. My therapist trying to crack jokes. I'm like, yo, come on, fam. Like, let's be serious.
Well, you got to know your audience because if I have someone that's real serious, I'm probably not going to crack a joke. But some
Okay.
people, they won't even open up until I get them to laugh.
Question for you. So, what does healing for childhood trauma actually look like? For somebody, that's thinking about going to therapy, they want to do the healing. Like, can you walk us down like what that actual process? I know everything doesn't isn't the same. Like everybody's journey is different, but is there like an overall process what that would look like?
Well, for me, like the first initial appointment, I have them draw three pictures for me. It's a diagnostic tool that's used for kids, but I found out that adults like it just as well. And when you draw
Mm-hmm.
these three things, it's called house, tree, person. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the picture gives me clues on what's going on in your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
The book that it comes from, the references go back to the 50s. So I don't know how they figured it out, but I can tell you by the way you draw your house and your tree and your person, kind of what you've been through in your life. Kind of like a suggestion, not always a rule, but it's in the high 90s that it's always accurate. Or maybe they're just not ready to tell me that part
Mm-hmm.
because I don't push. I'm not a pusher. I want you to open up on your own time.
Mm. Okay.
And even if you're forced to come to therapy for probation, I'll still not push you.
I didn't know that was a thing that people were like, court order therapy.
Yes, and that's a whole other subject of disservice to them. I don't think all the time they get the true therapy that they need because again, they've probably experienced childhood trauma that had never been resolved, and maybe they
Mm-hmm.
went towards drugs or alcohol or violence or something like that landed them in court. So anyway, so on my first session, I do that. And then I also take in a bunch of information about how you're feeling today, how you're feeling last month, and over your lifespan. And those are all clues of kind of what's going on with your body because your physical health and your mental health are closely tied. So I want to know about your physical health as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So everything aligns together pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Physical.
Like Dr. Ammon, Dr. Daniel Ammon,
Mm-hmm.
he is all about vitamins, supplements, diet, and mental health because what we eat and what we drink can make our anxiety worse or better.
Yeah, you're so right. It's so crazy. Like I was dealing with I didn't know what I was dealing with. I just know I was feeling like anxiety and worry, and then I had like I journaled. I journaled, and then I processed like I didn't realize how much like I was dealing with until I journaled, and then I think we talked about journal. Like you sent me the thing about journal too. So I had journal this week, and then when I did, I was like, dang, I'm dealing with some fear, some anxiety. Like I'm dealing like do, and then after I did that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to eat healthy now. And like it was like my mental was connected to me eating right. And then I was like, yo, I'm ready to go back working out. And it was like all that is aligned. So it's like it's so crazy once you like start really unpacking, like seeing like how much your mental health or this trauma can affect just your overall life in general. Um
Oh, definitely. And
one
you got to remember your family members may not remember it or see it the way you did, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen or it doesn't invalidate you. It's just saying that they just didn't see it the same way. Because I have a brother, he and we had two complete different childhoods in the same house. you know?
mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah. So don't feel dismissed if someone else didn't experience that same way that you felt it.
Yeah, or minimize who you are or what your trauma is. Because if you want to work on it, you got to be able to
Mhm.
talk about it and start, making friends with it, so to speak, so we can get better control of it.
Mhm. Yeah. Someone once told me when you talk about things and you process it, that makes it smaller each time. Is that true? That like it gets easier for you to the shame of it or the stuff that you went through isn't as intense as you keep talking about it and processing it.
Oh, absolutely. When you speak it and when you write it, you
Hmm.
process with different parts of your brain than if you just let it live in your head. 'Cause-
Got.
And when you let it live in your head, your brain's just going to take it every direction, because it's going to go in protective mode. But when you read, I mean, when you write or talk about it, you're engaging more parts of your brain, and your brain doesn't even know it's you that's talking. It feels relief because you're getting it out.
Mm.
But also, if you decompress too much too fast, you might have a backlash temporarily too. So you got to be careful about balance with that.
Gotcha. So don't try to process everything in just one night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you feel gross after therapy and you feel really tired, well, yeah, you ran a mental marathon, or you might have more panic attacks or higher anxiety. That's because you opened up something that hasn't been opened in a long time. And it doesn't mean don't go back to therapy. It just means, ooh, I touched a nerve and this is what I need to work on.
Okay. Last question for this part. I want to ask you is: can someone have a good childhood overall and still experience childhood trauma?
Oh, absolutely. And because I think when you say childhood trauma, people think parents and neglect and stuff, but it could be something at school. The teacher maybe was having a bad day and yelled at them, and they loved that
Mm,
teacher so much that they took it really personal, and they carried it with them. There's this book called Little Wonders. It's written by an EMDR therapist, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, because they're really big on moving, looking at the past events, like what was the first memory you can remember that you consider traumatic. But she has these stories in there, and one of them was this guy was really young. When he was really young, they went back to this memory where he and his grandpa were walking on a dirt road, and he was yapping away. He was maybe two, and somebody was walking by him and said, "Man, if my grandkid talked that much, I'd throw him in a ditch." And
mm.
that traumatized him to the point that he couldn't do public speaking when he was an adult, but he couldn't figure out why until they went back through his memories and found them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so how do we survive as a species, right?
uh, okay. All right. Well, you crack me up every time you say that line. That cracks me up. All right. Sorry. So let's go ahead. We're gonna move into our next segment here. Janae, you there? I think she's there.
Oh, there's Janae.
There she go.
Hi, I'm here.
I didn't hear your introduction, so I apologize.
Oh no, it's okay. And I just want to say you're amazing, and you could be my therapist any day. 'Cause, yeah.
I really love my job, you know, but I love it as an art, not as in look at me or something like that. And
Right.
I would welcome you with open arms.
Thank you.
And guess what? She accepts self pay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
If you don't know what
take
that
it for
means,
cash.
Cash
Yeah.
App, Venmo, Zelle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
And that's her
I
boss you
don't
hear in
do
the background.
insurance anymore.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Understandable.
So we about to move to our next segment, which is our Reddit segment, where I'm gonna read some stories that I read on Reddit, and then I got some questions for y'all after we read that. This first one that I have, it says, "When did you realize childhood was emotionally neglectful? For the longest time, I thought I had a fine childhood because my physical needs were met. It wasn't until I was an adult and struggled with relationships that I realized the lack of emotional support and validation was a huge missing piece. What was the moment of realization that made it click for you?" So let's pause right there for a second. Um, Brenda, question for you. Why do so many people, in your opinion, don't, why do some people not realize they experience childhood trauma until adulthood?
because they don't have those layers of protection from their parents and their teachers and everything. They're out there in the world interacting with people on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think I was in my 20s when I realized not everybody thinks like I do. It was very disappointing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
And
Man,
if you don't know about conflict resolution or how to deal with feelings you're not comfortable with, it's going to be very hard to be an adult.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
Janae, a question for you. So, have you seen people carry childhood wounds into adulthood without realizing it yourself?
Yes, of course. Of course. And like Brenda was saying, you could tell by the way people react to things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like the little things you're like, whoa. It's like, why did you blow up? Because you dropped your cup. Like, we could just get some more juice. It's okay. There's more juice in the refrigerator. It's you don't have to have a meltdown. It's okay. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize that, when they were younger, maybe when they made a mess, it was a big deal. So, so they're older now and that's a way that they feel they can protect themselves when they couldn't do it when they were younger when somebody hit them because they made a mess, So
Hmm.
it's, you see it. You see it
Yeah.
in the way adults respond to things. It's like, oh, okay, look, I think you should go talk to somebody about that because yeah.
Yeah. You got to
Hmm.
make sure you internalize it. People have
Yeah.
them extreme reactions. You got to make sure, you got to be like, hey, that's something that they dealing with.
Yeah.
Well, you don't
Um,
just internalize it. Your brain is wired that way, like in survival mode. And, like maybe your amygdala is too overactive. And it
Hmm.
takes time to learn new skills and retrain your brain to make new neural pathways to kind of even it out.
Yeah.
mhm.
So you don't get upset over juice.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, and I think I just coming from a parent's point of view, like when
Mhm.
my 4 year old, when he spills things and I'm like, hey, it's okay. We'll just clean it up. We're not gonna make it's just a mess that could be cleaned up because, like I said, I've seen the way adults react over things like that, and it's like, no, 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 I'm not gonna have you. I don't want you like that. Like, no, no, we could clean it up. It's fine. Nobody's mad. It's
Yeah.
okay. And you just keep it moving. So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
that
feel
could be
you.
a time you find out, oh, my parents were kind of jerks because
mhm,
you might be saying a phrase they said or catch yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I can't say that.
I want to crush them.
Yeah, I don't want to crush his heart.
All right. So my next Reddit story that I was reading says it starts off by saying, "Thought I had a normal childhood until I learned emotional neglect. Here's how I'm healing." When I was a kid, I was my mom's therapist. She been about my dad, their marriage, her unhappiness. She even say, "You're my best friend," and I believed it. I thought I was helping. I didn't realize I was absorbing her stress like a sponge, cracking jokes to lighten the mood while secretly feeling like I was suffocating. At school, I was bullied. At home, I was the emotional support system. No one noticed the way I shrank. I went from a loud, happy kid to someone who monitored every conversation, every shift in tone, just in case I needed to step in and fix things. It took me years to recognize that what I experienced wasn't just how families are. It was emotional neglect, enmeshment, and parentification. And it messed up me in ways I didn't understand until therapy. Therapy made me realize I was trained to suppress my needs. I confused hypervigilance with love, and healing starts with grieving. So let's stop right there for a second. Um, so my question for you, Brenda, what happens when a child is forced, in your perspective, into an adult emotional role?
They don't go through all the stages of childhood, and they will stay at that age mentally.
Mm,
And with the parents, like being in between with the parents, by proxy, you're telling that kid that they're bad too because they came from that parent,
mm-hmm,
and you're telling them to choose, and that's not fair. That's more than a child can handle. Putting them in the middle like that. So I'm glad that person on Reddit got therapy and realized all that because that's very traumatic.
mm-hmm. And what is parentification?
um, Asking kids to do adult things way before they're able to how would you say emotionally handle it. Like me, I was babysitting by the time I was 10 years old. I took care of a newborn. No, it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have happened.
Oh, 10 is too young? I'm learning things by myself.
Well, maybe I was 8, but it was young. But anyway,
Okay.
it's just putting them in a role as, like a parent, like taking care of your younger siblings or maybe your older sibling if they're inept. Um,
Mhm.
Being the therapist for your parent, things like that, or an aunt or uncle. Maybe when you stay with them, they're pushing you towards more adult type stuff.
Mhm.
Children need a childhood.
So you're saying that when you're pushed to that, it stunts you emotionally, and you stay at that age throughout your life.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind of like one of the stages would be law and order, right?
Mhm.
And if you get stuck in that stage, you're going to look at the world black and white. You're good or bad. I can do this or I can't do that. You don't
Mhm.
have that flexible thinking.
And so therapy will help you get out of that age if someone is went through that.
That's the goal. I have a user's manual to help you relearn how to get to know your brain, basically. Like in mechanics talk, I'd call it a Chilton manual. Everybody has their own Chilton manual. And maybe you've been using the wrong one and it's not working. Because, I could use like I have a Ford, right? And I could probably use a Dodge user guide on my car and, I'll get the basics and stuff. But when I have bigger problems, I won't be able to fix my car because I don't have the right manual. That's how our brain is.
Okay. Janae, for you, you woman of God, you deal with a lot of people in your life. I believe teacher as well.
Yes. Yes,
Have
I
have
work
you
in education.
have you met people who spent their lives taking care of everyone else but never learned how to care for themselves?
Yes, I have. I see it a lot. So I'm a secondary. I've always been in secondary, so high school. And you see it with the students who do have to take care of their younger siblings. They and the way they react to adults. So they don't see themselves as a child; they see themselves as they're on the same level you are, and it's like, but you're not, But as you have those years in education, you understand why. If they have to, go home and raise their younger siblings, and when I mean raise, I mean literally raise their younger siblings, so they're helping with the homework, bath time, all of these things instead of meeting their own personal needs as teenagers. Yeah, yeah, they feel like they're on your same level because they're doing the same things you're doing, an adult will do that should be doing in their lives. And so you see that, and then you see them as they grow up. Because once again, I've been in education for almost 20 years now, so I have kids. I have students that have kids. And so you look at like I stay in contact with a lot of them, and I see the way they act through the years. And sometimes they come back to me like, Miss Strickland, I needed to see a therapist, or I need to talk about something because why didn't you tell me when I was doing all this I wasn't grown? I was like, well, I tried to, but you were doing grown people stuff. So I understood, I get it. You were doing grown people stuff, baby. So I see why. And they were like, but I really wasn't. I was like, I know. But I couldn't tell you at the time because you couldn't hear me at the time. Now you're at a
Mm,
place where now you're seeing the effects of that and you're understanding I wasn't grown and there are some things I skipped because I had to take on these responsibilities early. So,
mhm,
I get to see it personally because I'm an educator a lot, and it just you see how people start having those revelations about their lives due
mm,
to childhood trauma and the neglect and the parentification and all of that stuff. So, you
mhm.
know, yeah.
Plus, our prefrontal cortex isn't fully formed.
So I wanted
So,
that.
Uh,
well, women's their brain forms their prefrontal cortex much earlier than guys, if ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, I'm just kidding.
The good old estrogen.
Yeah.
um,
That good estrogen helps us out a little bit.
Brenda. So, based on what you just said, right? In that healing journey, somebody comes to therapy. Is there like, have you seen in your experience that people need time before they're actually ready to actually go through the process? Like, even though they might show up, may they be a possibility they're not even ready to, heal and grow, reflect, and go through that process?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm asking you to flip your worldview around. And when you go through therapy, you're going to lose friends, and maybe your family members might not want to talk to you because they're afraid of your change. And that's very hard to go through because you don't realize that when you change, other people see it. And if they're not ready to change, they'd rather just push you away. So and that's why I think therapy should be an ebb and a flow. Come in, let's work on some stuff. You get overwhelmed or you just want to sit on it for a while. Let's take a break. I don't think it's like one and done ever. And when you go through different stages of life, you're going to have different things you want to work on.
Gotcha. All right, so this has been heavy. So we're gonna move to another segment, which is way lot more easier. I can feel the weight of this. We're gonna do it to our celebrity segment. So I'm going to ask y'all a question about different celebrities. A question, and I just want you to answer which celebrity you choose for that one and why. So we'll start with Janae. We'll start with Strickland. Which celebrity childhood do you think had the biggest impact on who they became? 50 Cent or Oprah Winfrey?
Ooh, ooh. I'm gonna say Oprah.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna say her because not saying both of them had amazing childhoods, but um, I think Oprah kind of took hers and she went in a more positive direction than 50 Cent. Like, we see 50 Cent trolls people. That's not healing. That's not showing growth. That's not showing, I've
Hey.
learned from this. He out there trolling folks just all the time. But at least Oprah tried to do some good from everything she's went through. She tried
Mhm.
to, she flipped it and turned around and made it a little bit more positive
Mhm.
than 50. So I would have to say Oprah.
What about you, Brenda?
Oh, definitely Oprah. I mean, she has um, made a platform to make people talk about these things and not keep it in the dark. And she's just a
Mhm.
talented woman all the way around. So, yeah,
All right. Well,
because
I'm
hurt
gonna go
people
for my
do hurt
guy.
people, so if you
You
don't
gonna
take
go
care of
for
your
Mr.
trauma,
Petty?
huh?
Sorry. He said he's going for 50 Cent. I'm
Yeah,
listening to you, but he said,
50.
sorry.
Okay.
I
Mr.
got.
Petty Betty himself.
Yeah, but you got to meet people like Brenda said. You got to meet people where they are. You know what I'm saying? He's grown. He's grown. Well, he's successful. He still got some things he need to work on. But
That man still he denies like one of his sons.
mhm.
You gotta like I think about everything. He has some stuff he needs to work on. Like
Hey,
he doesn't claim one of his sons.
mhm.
Every time somebody does something to him, like he fires back and it's not positive. He drags folks for filth. Just continues to drag and drag. So you going with Mr. Petty? That's crazy.
No, all I'm saying is, as a woman of God, Moses once murdered somebody, and look,
Don't pull
look at him
that.
now.
Don't pull that on me. Don't pull that. You compared two different individuals, and
I
you
was gonna
said
say
which
Moses and
one?
50 Cent. I mean, come
Right.
on.
I'm not doing no Moses and 50 Cent. At least Moses went to lead people. 50 Cent is trolling people. Two different things. Two different things.
All right. All right. So my second one for you. So we start with you, Brenda. Which celebrity seems like they turned childhood pain into motivation the best? Tyler Perry or Steve Harvey?
Oh, I would lean more towards Tyler Perry, even though Steve Harvey too. He seems like he's more wanting to help other people in comparison.
Mm,
But they both have great contributions, especially humor.
yeah. And what about you, Miss Strickland?
Um, man. I mean, Tyler Perry pumps out some good stuff, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Steve Harvey.
Steve
I
Harvey.
don't know.
Okay.
I feel Steve Harvey in my spirit man.
Okay. That's what we no angle. I know I'm gonna leave you alone. Which celebrity do you think had the hardest road to overcome? Eminem or Charlamagne the God?
Hmm. Hmm. And I read Charlemagne's book, but I'm gonna say out of the, I'm gonna go with Eminem. I'm gonna go with Eminem. Just
Okay.
he had to. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Eminem. I'm just gonna go with him.
What about you, Brenda?
Same. And I worked with a lot of kids that, well, they thought they were Eminem, but I worked in rural Missouri. So,
Mm,
I actually lived in a trailer at one time in my life. So I know about trailer park life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Eight
yeah.
Mile. 8 Mile was crazy, but I will say, people, check out Charlemagne the God. He has a mental health book.
He
Super
does.
dope.
Hmm.
Definitely check that out. I enjoyed that. Um, so Brenda, I got a question for you. Which celebrity seems like they did the most healing work on themselves? Dwayne the Rock Johnson or Jay Z?
Oh. I would say Dwayne, the Rock Johnson, I think. But I'm a therapist, so I have to stay kind of. But I think they both bring a lot to the table. But I am a fan of The Rock. What can I say?
Okay. What about you, Miss Strickland? Who you?
I'm gonna go with Jay Z because you know, the man used to sell crack. He used to sell crack. Now he's selling out stadiums. I don't know. I just feel like he's done a lot of work. Um, not to not, The Rock, because I like him too, and I like his story.
Mhm.
But I guess I'm gonna have to go with Jay Z for me.
Okay. Yeah, I would say, Brenda, I was like, have you listened to 444?
What is?
She
I
said,
guess
"What?"
not.
I'm about to
She
get you.
said,
You
"Excuse
gotta
me."
listen to Jay Z 444. You gotta go back and listen to Jay Z first album, and you gotta go back and listen to 444, and you'll be like, man, this guy he a totally different guy now. Um,
He's a different person than when he started out.
Well,
yeah.
I think a lot of them, in that genre, they have grown a lot. Their
Mhm.
music was really raw because of what they went through, but then they had access probably to fix themselves.
That one.
You
Hmm.
know.
That's crazy. That's that childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Hey, that's all I'm saying. I'm like, you gotta he's coming from living in the projects in New York to what he's from Bed-Stuy. What is he from Bed-Stuy? From Brooklyn? I don't know, wherever, one of them boroughs. And then one of them boroughs,
Same
and then
thing.
he's going from that to constant survival mode, and now he's like worth his net worth is crazy. He gets to choose who does the halftime show of the Super Bowl every year. It's just
Mm,
when you
I don't
have
look at it like that.
access to those type of things. I'm with
And he
Brenda. You have
married.
access to healing a little bit more than the average person. So
Mhm. Glam Lash by Mer, thank you so much for following, and thank you so much for watching. We are talking about tonight childhood trauma. We are in a celebrity segment of childhood trauma. But yes, Mr. Strickland, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he and you miss you forgot to say he married Beyonce.
that
Like,
one too. I mean,
Yeah.
and let's talk about her real quick before her mama had her in therapy like way before therapy was like real cool. Like her mama was even in therapy. So and she made sure to put both of her daughters in the therapy. So if you married to Beyonce, you gotta elevate. I'm sorry. You just
There
have
you
to.
go. That's why she's a queen.
You gotta elevate. You just
oh, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is called childhood trauma or nah. So I'm gonna give you an example, and I just want you to tell me if you think it's childhood trauma or not. So we'll start with Miss Strickland. We'll apologizing for things that aren't your fault.
childhood trauma.
Okay.
Childhood trauma.
And do you agree with that, Brenda?
Absolutely.
Okay. Feeling guilty whenever you say no to someone else. Is that childhood trauma or not, Brenda?
You mean why you feel guilty of just saying no?
Yeah, feeling guilty whenever you say no to someone.
It probably stems from childhood trauma, yeah, or low self esteem.
Mhm.
Okay. And you going with that as well, Miss Strickland?
I want to say low self esteem, but is it because if you don't have a problem with saying no, I don't know. Mm, I'm gonna say childhood trauma because I think about some things that happened to me and why I was a people pleaser and couldn't say no for a while. So I'm gonna say childhood trauma is trauma. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
okay over there?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, healing is a constant thing. You know, you pull up some things you like. No, that was trauma. Yeah, it's childhood trauma. Baby.
I know. And Brenda said some things today. I was like, hold on, wait. I was like, hold on. I was
Like,
like,
wait, that was trauma. I did not know.
I
What do
thought that
you
was real life. I
mean?
thought that was regular life.
No.
All right, Brenda, struggling to accept compliments, childhood trauma or nah?
The therapist to me is going to say possible, but it's also low self-esteem too.
Okay.
I'm gonna say low self esteem.
Because if
All
it's
right.
childhood trauma, you don't want to stand out because then you become
Yeah.
a target. Is why you wouldn't accept it. But low self-esteem is you just don't feel good enough and you don't believe that compliment is genuine.
Okay. And what about so Ms. Strickland, what about being extremely independent and never asking for help?
Childhood trauma. Trauma. Trauma.
Apple tea.
Trauma. Capital T. That's Brenda. That's a capital T. Trauma.
In the chat we had Glam Lash by Mirrors as is it or is it not a trauma? For our last one, she was asking one of
Not
it.
accepting not accepting compliments.
Yeah.
I think Brenda said it could go both ways, so I'm
Oh no, she
going with
said
the like.
feeling bad saying no to someone.
Oh,
Oh,
being a people pleaser, it can come from trauma, definitely, or like we said, low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. So Glam, a possibility it can be. It just depends on the exact situation. All
Especially if
right.
you think no is like if you feel like it's a life or death, even though it's not, but you feel like if you tell them no, you're going to wreck everything. That would be more trauma.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Um, Overachieving because your worth feels tied to success. Let's go with Strickland first. Do you think that's childhood trauma or not?
I feel like you picking on me with these right now, and so I feel targeted, sir. I feel like I think it could be trauma, but it could also stem from low self esteem. That's the
Mm-hmm.
way I feel. I feel like it could also be low self esteem. It could be trauma because
Uh-huh.
you're trying to accomplish things so that people can you feel like you have to prove your worth.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like that's the way you seem useful is if you achieve, then,
Mm-hmm.
you could give people reasons to accept you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be trauma, but it could also have to deal with your self worth and your self esteem. Like, now, if I do this, I've done this and I've done that. And so it's an extrinsic thing instead of an intrinsic thing. And so it could,
Okay.
yeah.
And
We're
and
mind melding tonight, aren't we, Janae?
Yes, we are. We are.
I just want to Janae, I just want to make sure I had these questions before I even asked you to come on.
I
So
know I'm messing with you. I'm joking.
like, all right. So my last one for you is start with Brenda. Pushing people away when they get too close.
Definitely, I would say that's a trauma response.
Okay.
Because if you don't let them in, you're not going to get hurt, right? Not saying it's a healthy way to think, but that's the thought behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I agree. I
Great.
agree. I think,
Okay.
yeah, because this stems with trust issues, and that's some things that you learn from a young age, like who you could depend on and who you can't. And so if you feel like the person that was the closest to you let you down, and so now, well, if that person lets me down, that means everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So that is the end for that. Before we close out, I do have a couple questions. So Brenda, with the childhood trauma and everything today, someone that's listening to this, they pick up. Yes, Glam. Thank you so much for sharing the live, and also liking the live. And so what, somebody say today, they watch this, they listen to this, they like, man, like, I'm ready to, I wasn't aware that I was dealing with some of this stuff, like me and Janae, like, we like, dang, like, be like us, like, oh man.
Hold on.
Um,
And I had a good childhood.
Hey, today, you know what's so funny? I remember I went to a therapist session. I was like, yo, I came from a two-parent household. I was like, I ain't got no trauma. And then I started talking, and like, she
Oh
was like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. Quick story. So I don't. I guess I don't share this a lot, but
Hmm.
um, I got a divorce. That was one of the reasons why I got a divorce is because I realized my child deserved a happy, stable mama rather than having a two-parent household. So that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why I got a divorce because there's things that I can control and there's things that I can't control another person, but I can control me. And I knew if my son he sees me as his number one caregiver, the mama is big in a kid's life. And so if I'm not stable, you just talked about the parent a kid that situation where a person felt they were, parentification.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to be that for my kid. I didn't want to be in an unhappy marriage and dump it on my kid, telling my kid all this because he deserves to have a childhood. He don't need to hear all that. That's my stuff. That's not his stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, but I just wanted to put that out there.
I appreciate it. Look at you. Look at God. Look at
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
That makes you
um
awesome in my book, Janae.
Thank you.
In the chat, DD said, "This is an important discussion. Yes, this is a very important discussion, and that's one of the reasons I asked Brenda, asked Janae to come on here because I feel like we just need to talk about this more. We need to get it out there. We need to normalize talking about things like that so that people don't feel like a lot of shame and like, oh man, this is it's too heavy and try to avoid this type of stuff. So um." Brenda, somebody right now, right? They listening to this. They like, man, I want to start, doing the work. I just don't know where to start. Like, what is the next steps for them?
To definitely do some research, maybe access some literature and start reading and learning and try therapy. I mean, you can go once and go, it's not for me or I'm not ready, but you don't know if you don't try. And
Hmm.
therapy can be very life changing because even though I'm a therapist, I go to therapy. I've been in
Yeah.
therapy and out of therapy because everybody needs it and deserves it. I really wish they would start with kids that are young, because when you're talking about childhood, like you were just now, kids can't talk about that to other kids because they don't want to be different.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And because that'll set them up in their mind to be bullied, because you always feel like you're the only one that has that big giant secret when you realize, looking back, everybody was struggling, you
Yep.
Hmm.
know? I
Yep.
mean, I was born in Brooklyn and we moved to Montana when I was 4. You
Oh
talk
my
about
goodness.
childhood trauma.
Yeah, that is a big change.
Yeah.
Huge change.
They sent me
Um,
to
Yeah.
speech therapy to learn English because they thought I was speaking Spanish because I spoke so fast.
Yeah, because you were. Look, that's crazy.
Brenda. Yes, Brenda. So Glam said I learned so much in a short space of time. I tuned in. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you did. And we do this every week, 10 p.m. Called Reflect and Grow. Next week, Brenda will be back. We're going to be talking about recovery. Can you just give like a quick description of just like what you do with recovery and everything, Brenda?
Oh, I honestly think that our childhood traumas are a big contributor to addictions. I mean, nobody signs their yearbook saying, "Hey, I'm going to go do crack." No, circumstances, right? It's circumstances.
Hit
You
this
know?
mess up real quick. I'm sorry.
So make sure you tune in next week, 10 p.m. Brenda gonna be back so that we can like really dive into like recovery and, some of the things what led you there, and also some ways of healing and some of the process because she's a licensed therapist. Some of the
They can
process.
reach out if they have a question. I'm more than willing to answer.
You also can reach out. So you can reach out to her. Also come back next week. She'll be back on and you can hear her talk about it more as well. I like framing a of therapy being a something to look at as a great. Hold on, we got Dee Dee said, I like framing of therapy being something to look at as a great privilege. Okay, I don't know how to receive that one right there. Um,
Like, I think she means like a great, like a tool, like it's a good thing to have.
yes. Okay. Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know, Didi. I hope I'm saying that right, but it's something that everybody should do, and
Mm-hmm.
that yeah, it and if I don't, I'm trying not to get on the soapbox, so I'm gonna step down.
Right. And I
I'm
will
gonna
say,
step down.
BetterHelp is a platform that has
Hmm.
hundreds of therapists. So if you, it's like
Hmm.
a buffet. If you don't like that one, try a different one. I have some clients tell me I was a fourth or fifth therapist they tried, and they
Yeah.
finally felt like they, but
Yeah.
just try. I mean, you're not going to have a heart attack and die over just going to a therapy session unless you
Go
got real
talk to
bad health.
somebody. I remember the
And
first
I
time I
did better
talked.
help myself too. So
Yeah, I remember I started talking to a therapist because I had an anxiety disorder. Like, and I didn't realize it.
mhm.
And I did not care who I told. They would be like, "What you got to do today?" Oh, I can't do that. I got a therapy appointment. I didn't care because I need help. And you can look at me weird all you want to, but I'd rather talk to somebody than sitting in a corner hyperventilating. Like,
Oh yeah.
so y'all get therapy. Don't nobody care. We all need it.
Mhm. All right. Well, I want to say thank you, ladies, so much for joining. Brenda, like I said, once again, Brenda will be back next week. We're gonna be talking about recovery. Janae, we're gonna figure something out. I'm gonna call her. I got her number down. She's an Android user. I don't really know if I like her like that no more, but um, we'll figure something out. Oh, hold
It's
on. We got
hilarious.
one more question for you. And I also want to say this is not a therapy session. This is just a conversation. Someone says, "How does one control slash manage anger?" Would be a good topic to talk on.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
Hmm.
yeah. So we'll definitely make sure we'll talk about that in the future. So Brenda, where can people find you at?
Oh, if you look up Brenda Joy Lauer on Instagram or on Facebook, I'm on those platforms.
All right.
And yeah, because this is my service dogs. I probably should have my own, or maybe put Brenda and Ted, right? But
Yeah, we got to get you back with your therapist TikTok on there. Um,
uh, I just
Miss
don't want to do
Strick,
it full time.
what about you, Miss Strickland? How can people follow you?
First of all, don't call me Miss Strickland because I'm not at work.
Oh, my bad.
I'm not at work,
my
sir.
bad. My
Don't do
bad.
that. Anyways, you can find me at my platform is confessionsfromarea couch.com. Confessions from a Red Couch. We deal with I'm still in this mode, all things self love, self worth, self esteem, because if you don't love yourself, who gonna love you? So, you know.
Amen.
And if y'all see me, like, I'm not on as much because I'm working through my own journey right now. So sometimes I feel like, I could be a guest, but when it comes to my own things of being creative, I have to make sure I'm healed enough in dealing with my things before I can present myself in, a creative way for everybody else. So
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming through, both of y'all ladies. I will talk to y'all later.
All right. Nice meeting you. See ya.
nice
Bye
meeting you
bye.
too. Okay.
All right, y'all. Once again, thank you so much for joining this week for Reflect and Grow. We do this every week, Monday, 10 p.m. Before we get out of here, I got 3 affirmations around childhood trauma that I'd like to give you for this week. First affirmation is, what happened to me was not my fault and healing is possible. I am not defined by my childhood. I am growing into who I choose to become. And I deserve love, safety, and healthy relationships without having to earn them. Once again, thank y'all so much. If you haven't already, make sure you join the fan club right here so you can get notified. Follow me, and we'll be back next year. We talk about recovery with licensed therapist Brenda at 10 p.m. next Monday. Peace out.